Toyota reliability is an all-time low. While they continue to sell their vehicles, the list of recalls just continues to mount. The latest is we're hearing 55,000 units of the Siennas are failing because of welds that weren't installed properly for the center seat. On top of it, there's about 400,000 Tundras as well as hybrids that don't have backup cameras that work properly and require a software update. On top of this, the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6 called the V35A that you're finding in the Tundras as well as the Lexus LX 600 have been highly susceptible to catastrophic failures due to extra particulate in the engine. Are they over that hump? Have things gotten better? Well, the Sienna also has had issues with some of the batteries overheating in the hybrids. The list of recalls, some small, some insignificant. Some people say backup cameras are no big deal. Some people say floor mats are no big deal. Some people are saying that gas tanks and leaks are no big deal, or Denso fuel pumps are no big deal. Some people are saying that blown rod bearings or main bearings are no big deal. Some people are saying that 8-speed automatics in Tacomas are no big deal, but they're not a big deal until they affect you. Now, we know that Toyota has traditionally built very reliable cars. I mean, we trusted them enough to buy a Camry for ourselves. And generally, as a whole, I would say it's a fairly safe bet when you compare it to some of the other junk that's on the market. I mean, you don't have to look very far to look down the pipeline of Stellantis and a lot of the Jeep products, a lot of the Fords, kings of recalls, as well as GMs and their 5.3s, 6.2s. I mean, you don't have to look very far at all. You can go from one dealership type to the next, to the next, to the next, and grab a whole list of different recalls, catastrophic failures. And I don't mean minor things. I don't mean, piece of trim that pops off. I'm talking significant safety concerns, because recalls ultimately do affect the safety of the passengers, occupants, and those around you that share the road. See, unfortunately, what we're seeing these days with Toyota in itself, if it were one singular potential failure, wouldn't be that big of a thing. And we continue to put some faith in Toyota in that they'll likely build us a product that's going to be reliable and it's going to last a long time. But when consumers are ready to throw down their hard-earned dollars, the expectation is that they're going to have something that lasts for a period of time. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that just will not own their vehicles beyond the warranty period. There's a lot of people that just don't care. Many people would even just rather lease their vehicles. It doesn't matter if it's a Toyota, Lexus, BMW, Audi, or Benz. They'll just lease them and move on. And see, that's the modern buyer's perspective is, you know what, temporary. It's a throwaway society. You know, just like your cell phone. You use it for 3 to 4 years, then you get a new contract with a new piece of hardware, move on. You never even look back. You don't even care what happens to that. So when you look at some of these 10,000 mile service intervals, it doesn't seem to matter. You're just going with what's cheaper and going to cost you less money for that next 3 years until warranty's expired and you sell the car or trade it in. But ultimately, what we're starting to see is an evolving market, and unfortunately, Toyota is right in the midst of it. Now, no manufacturer is perfect, and most people would say, and many mechanics would say, that Toyota is still a reliable brand. But I've been around Toyotas for many years. I've had numerous Toyotas myself, including one that we currently own, the outgoing Camry. I can recognize that things have changed over the years. Things have changed in a way that, they used to have reliable engines that were super dependable, and all you did was the oil changes, and you know what, if you skipped the odd oil change, it wouldn't hurt the car. Maybe you skip another one, it wouldn't hurt the car. But see, now cars, even Toyotas, are built to much tighter tolerances. They need to have those more frequent oil services. Why? Well, with things like variable valve timing, utilizes that engine oil. Same thing with direct injection. It adds extra carbon to the system. Even with their port and direct fuel injection systems, there is extra strain on the oil. Not to mention, a lot of Toyotas these days are turbo engines. Now, of course, couple that with the fact that most of them are hybrids these days, of course you are alleviating some of that strain on the naturally aspirated or the internal combustion engine. But the fact remains is, it's not just the hybrids and the batteries that we're seeing overheating in the Siennas and catastrophic engine failures. It's electronics, it's programming, backup cameras, issues with the Corolla Cross. We're hearing all kinds of programming problems. And that's just a sign of where we're at today. The market is full of vehicles that are overly complex, too technical, and most manufacturers are recognizing that the average consumer just doesn't care that much. There was a time when I would keep a car for 20 years. I still have an actual 22-year-old car myself, and I'm quite fine with that. But the fact remains is, in modern day society, people no longer have the expectation that their car is going to last 20 years. And of course, this all filters its way up to the manufacturers who recognize that consumers just don't care that much. And so why would a manufacturer continue to build cars that are capable of running 30 years if they know consumers don't care that much and won't hold them to account? The fact is, they realize that. And the manufacturers are finding out that they're able to cut costs, advance the technology, use more plastics, smaller engines, all for the sake of satisfying CARB and EPA standards as well as EU7 regulations. The fact remains is, Toyota, like many other manufacturers, just in my personal observation, just don't seem to care that much. The sheet metal is much thinner. You push on it and it feels like a Coke can that you just emptied out. Boom, 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 boom. And it's just not built the way it used to be. Not only that, no longer can you keep that vehicle running to the best of your do-it-yourself ability, but there's a reality. And the reality is many of these cars, including Toyotas and Lexuses, are a little bit out of the complexity level understanding for your average consumer. So lo and behold, we rely on the dealer network. Hence, we talk about BMWs and other manufacturers that strongly rely on the dealer network or the service network of sorts. The expectation is, do you drive your car for 3 years reliably and with minimal oil services because that would cost the service department? Then by the time the damage is done, after 4 or 5 years, if you're one of those unsuspecting souls that actually kept your car for a period of time, you might start to see a little bit of oil consumption, that weird cold start knock or that rattling chain, maybe that weird glitch that you just do a reboot, disconnect your battery, reconnect, and it's good. See, these are all faults that we're starting to see, not just in Toyota, but many other brands, and it's an industry-wide problem. From my perspective and what I've been seeing is the overall quality is dropping drastically, while the technology levels are going through the roof. Here we have sort of an inflection point where we've started to come to a point where it's too complicated for you and I to fix, but it's too expensive for us to hold on to, and therefore we want to pitch the car. What's the solution? Sell you a new car. That's what the manufacturers wanted to do. And while for a period of time their service network was more of the stronghold of the business, they would rely on the service to provide after-service, maintenance, repairs, and most of those parts were actually pretty easily changed out. Cars were pretty reliable, and a lot of manufacturers actually just didn't do as well in the service, but that was their bread and butter. Well, today, their bread and butter seems to be more in sales, volumes. They don't even care anymore. I mean, look at some of these even supercar brands that used to sell 4,000 or 5,000 cars a year are now having to adhere to a lot of the stakeholders and shareholders who expect, because now they're publicly traded companies, to sell 3-4 times the volume that they used to sell, just for the sake of satisfying profits. See, Toyota, Honda, any manufacturer these days is all trying to satisfy the bottom line. The bean counters get their hands on this, and now the influence comes in a way that they need to sell more cars. Oddly enough, it's just like the banks. If the banks aren't making profit every quarter, making more and more profit, then they're losing money. They start here, they project here, but they come up a little short. That's a loss. That's a net loss in their eyes. How is that a loss if they still made profits? Most businesses are satisfied just to get above the baseline. But banks, as well as we're seeing car manufacturers, need to see these ever-increasing profit increases. Without that, they have to find new creative ways. Maybe dropping ads on your center display. Look at Jeep. They're doing that now. Maybe cutting corners, putting more plastics where metals used to exist, because plastics are easy. You can extrude the plastic. You can use 3D printing, where metal used to actually take product that actually was often remanufactured or reused from other metals in the past. And it was sort of a fixed, iron, a bit of a finite type of product, and it cost money to make parts out of metal. So they make it out of plastic, it's cheaper, but they sell you on the fact that it's lighter. See, every move that they make, they promote that whatever they're doing is in your best interest. Longer oil services, more plastic because it's lighter and gets you better fuel economy and better performance. These are all nonsense notions. But you know what? There's still a few good brands out there. We'll share those as time goes on. But the point I'm trying to make here is Toyota, like a lot of manufacturers, are starting to look at the bottom line even more than they've ever done. They're looking at new, resourceful ways to bring more profits in, whether it's more advertising, subscription-based services, more plastics cutting costs on the bottom line, even Ford and their modularity in their engines, and even BMW have improved reliability with the B48, B58 engines, but even those are more of a modular design. It's clear manufacturers are constantly looking for a new evolution in cost savings and new ways to charge the consumer. I'd like to hear your thoughts down below of new ways that you feel that manufacturers are extracting more of your hard-earned dollars. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.